Vulnerability fosters good emotions and mental health. Vulnerability also is a sign of courage. We become more resilient and brave when we embrace who we truly are and what we are feeling. The Vulnerable Scientist podcast is a space for scientists who are honest and authentic or are working towards it. Join the vulnerable space by either sending an audio using the link on the show notes talking about your highs and lows as a scientist, or by contacting Sarah Nyakeri, aka New Biochemist, to schedule a chat. The Vulnerable Scientist podcast benefits both the listener and the one sharing. You can now rate this podcast on Spotify or put a review on Apple Podcasts or any other listening platform with a rating button. And to share your thoughts, feel free to send an audio message using the audio link, either using your name or anonymously, to be published on the following episodes of the Vulnerable Scientist podcasts. Are you wondering what I use to upload and store my website spaces? Host Pinnacle. I've been using it for over 2 years right now and it has never disappointed me. So host your website today using Host Pinnacle, cheap and affordable and reliable services. To start experiencing Host Pinnacle goodness, click on the link on the show notes and you will not regret your decision. Hi everyone, welcome to the Vulnerable Scientist podcast. This is your host Sarah Nyakeri, and today I have someone special who we'll have a good conversation with, and I don't know much about him, and that's the most exciting part because we're going to learn about him together. So, Mwamburi.
Yes.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
I don't know why I've chosen to call you the second name.
Well,
sounds more interesting. It sounds more interesting compared to the English name. Okay, introduce yourself so that, yeah.
Okay. So, thank you for having me. My name is Mwamburi, and probably a stranger to you and others, but I've been following your podcast and the activity that you've been doing online. I think for some of us, we're not really good at, the online platforms, but we're trying. So, once again, thank you for having me here.
Okay, that's good to hear. Okay, so tell us who you are and what you're currently doing.
Samuel Mwamburi from Taita County, Taita Taveta County, that is. I think probably it's important for me to talk about my background because that's what technically has shaped me to who I am today. So, born and bred in Undani constituency, in a village called Magoro. So, I grew up as a typical Kenyan child in a local primary school, to high school. And I think for me, I discovered the life of sciences in high school. So, my journey started pretty much when I was in Form 4. We used to do the normal science congress thing. I was in a science club, and this time we went to the provincial levels. And at that moment, my partner and I did a presentation on some microbes, to help deal with soil fertility and all that. The most interesting bit is throughout the journey, nobody understood what we were talking about because we were intrigued by just using those fancy scientific names, the agrobacterium, blah, 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 all that.
Allah.
So, it sounded really fancy at that level. We didn't even know how much of an impact that was going to be to maybe some of us like me. So, throughout the whole competition, no one would ask questions. Even the judges themselves, they can't ask questions. So at national level, at provincial levels, we fell short by one position to go to the national level. And then I went back to school and I was like, wow, I think this is what I need to do. I think part of it was because I wanted to see how can you be able to communicate these complex things in a simplified way, you know? Probably that has been the silent drive throughout my journey, but I'm still yet to maybe achieve it or even get close to it, yeah?
Okay.
I think things keep getting complicated as we go on. So, by the time we were doing selections for the course that we want to do, I'd already made up my mind. I wanted to do something to do with biology. So I approached my biology teacher. Her name is Miss Kililo. She was such an amazing teacher. She made biology really interesting and easy, an easy subject. You know, we used to call them boosters. Yeah, you don't need to read anything to do with biology, but you know you will pass because her classes were really, really, really interesting, and she was really good in her job.
Biology was your booster.
Oh, that was a booster. I didn't need to do so much as far as biology is concerned. Yeah. So I approached her one day like, okay, I want something to do with biology. I didn't even know what I wanted to do. And then, okay, so she ended up like you could maybe try and do some biotechnology, biochemistry. Like those were the only options as of that time. Yeah. So I said, okay, I'm going to do biotechnology. So during the selection process, number 1 was biotechnology, number 2 biotechnology, number 3 biotechnology.
Allah. Wait a minute.
In the same university.
You know, when you could select the same unit, the same course in the same university.
Yes, that's what I did. I didn't want any other option.
Which university was this?
I had to go to Technical University of Kenya. Then it was Kenya Polytechnic University College.
Why?
I wanted to be in a town setting. I think I grew up in a village, so I didn't want to be anywhere far away from the town. I wanted to experience. I wanted to feel the thrill of being in a city, you know. That was the main drive at that very moment.
Okay. So I didn't know about. Okay, when us we were choosing subjects, most of us didn't know about biochemistry or biotechnology. I'm surprised that.
Yeah.
Because most of the people in my class, they had chosen something else, then they were maybe thrown to biochemistry, for example. It's interesting to know that there was someone who actually knew what they wanted, and it was actually something to do with biotech or something like that. Like most people don't know that. That's interesting.
Yeah, for me, I knew about that right when I was in Form 4. So I was privileged to have that teacher, and I think that motivation kind of directed me there. So that's what I picked. I didn't want to do any other thing other than biotech. I probably had made a commitment that mine is going to be a journey in the life sciences. So after that, fortunately, I made it and I went to talk for my bachelor's. So as usual, you're excited about life. You want to discover everything, and went through the process, cleared my graduate studies, that is, and after that, immediate graduation, I started like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and pursue this tree of knowledge. So I was partially funded by my parents, go for an MSc, still in biotech, and that's what I did.
Same university?
No, I went to Jomo Kenyatta University, JKUAT.
Why?
At that time, I think I was late for other institutions' intakes, so that was the only available option at that moment. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to sit down anymore. I've spent like the past 4 months probably doing nothing important, and I just need to get back,
Why was that?
At this level, my drive was I wanted to go into academia. I've always wanted to, teach or share knowledge, and for me that felt like I used to feel like lecturing was such a fulfilling job, So my motivation was like, I'm going to do my MSc, then come apply for teaching assistants or something, and then, grow along that ladder. Then did my coursework, cleared, then came the project. So at this moment, those moments when you clear your coursework, you become confused. Okay, I don't know whether that happens to everyone, but for me, I was really confused at that level. And that kind of now takes us to my first lows. Because I feel I know so much, I understand so many things, yes, but still I don't even know what I want to do with all that information. I don't know, probably it's because of the way maybe the curriculum is set up, or I don't know, there's so many confounding factors, but at the end of the day, for me, that was a very confusing stage in my life. I didn't know exactly which direction I was supposed to go after this. So I went to one of my lecturers from undergraduate studies, and she was such an amazing person because she mentored me through the first project I did at undergraduate level. I have cleared my coursework, and at this moment I don't even know what I want to do with my life. I have no clue which direction to go. So she listened to me I'll contact you after a few days. So I waited. After 4 days, I'm like, okay, hey, so I have this idea. I need you to read around it, see what can be done with the resources that we have. And I'm like, wow, cool, this is nice. At least now you're giving me some, something to hold on to. And did some literature reviews, went back to her, and we sat down, and right there and then a project came into play, and that's what I did for my MSc project. Now, at this point, life is changing. You are a student, you're growing up, you have to survive. You're in Nairobi, and I'm sure you understand all these things.
Yeah.
So the hustle is real, So as that time I was working part-time in one of food delivery companies in Nairobi. I used to work from 5 p.m. to around 1 a.m. night shift.
Wow.
Yes.
That's how many hours?
What?
That's 8.
7 to 8 hours.
8 hours.
Yes.
That's after a whole day of working again.
Yes.
Like you're working.
Yes. Exactly. So during the day I'm in the lab. I have to do my work. When it gets to around 5, I check and I head to my workplace. I work up to midnight. I leave, go home, sleep, wake up very early in the morning. By around 6, I'm out, trying to beat traffic and all those things. So that, of course, takes a toll, because you see, at the end of the day, I need to pay my bills. I need to pay my school fee because I was just self-sponsored. So everything, in that whole pot. So it got to a point I couldn't do all those. It was becoming too much. Now the research is demanding. I need to spend more time in the lab. Sometimes I have to sleep in the lab because I have to optimize the processes and all that. So yeah, that was quite something. So I made a decision. I quit the job. I focused on the project. The good thing is that at that moment they were offering just like a small stipend. It wasn't much. But
before that they weren't.
No, at that moment I was also being offered a stipend, but it wasn't enough actually. You'd say it was just more like you're being given something small to ensure you go back to work tomorrow, I kulipa fare peke yake. Yeah? That's what you call it, yeah. So that's what was happening. Yeah? So they said, okay, I'll just stop, let me focus on my studies, on my research work, I finish, and then after that probably, hope for the best. So just immediately after doing that, something interesting really happened, and that really shaped things in ways that I wouldn't have imagined in my life. So my girlfriend and I got pregnant. So now all of a sudden the world is opening up to new possibilities. We are all young. We are, you don't know exactly what to do, how to go about it. You still have school. You're not independent in any possible way. But that's something too. Right? So I actually quit a job, so now you don't have even the financial stability. Yeah, so now that brings me to my second law. So immediately I was done with my project, and the baby came. We're excited. That was a blessing. That will never change. But now there's the other aspect you need to take care of. I need to take care of my wife and our newborn. But hakuna job, no work. You've applied, the usual, you send us many applications as possible, no response. But at least there's some organizations that were, courteous enough to even tell you like, okay, you don't qualify because of this and that and this and that. But in most cases, you never get response. So the point where it really hit the bottom was one day we woke up and my wife and I had 100 shillings between us and poverty.
And you have a child.
Baby. Yes. Just some weeks old child. So at that moment, I just like, okay, let me have that 100 bob, and I hit the streets. And I became a boda rider.
Wait, where did you get the boda?
I had a bike before that.
Okay.
It used to ferry me from school to work and from my lab to work. Because I couldn't do without at that moment. Yeah, so that was the asset that I had. So I got the 100 bob and bought some fuel, and I went and just stood in a random place. I decided, okay, like God, today I need to see miracles, because if this doesn't happen, I don't know what's going to happen next. So I stood there, and miraculously, that evening I went home with around 1,000 bob from 100 bob.
Wow, that's your first day.
The first day, and my queue, I had started working from 3.
What?
By 5 I had 1,000 bob. I fell with that 100 shillings that I was given. Yes.
You were given by your wife?
Yes.
Okay. Wow, that's impressive, honestly.
100 bob is what fed us that day.
Wow.
And from there, that was a whole year of hustling, Like, I just
using
had to
the
wake up.
motorbike.
Yeah, exactly. Do what I could, and I had to do it the best way possible to ensure, we survive. And funny thing, things just somehow changed, All of a sudden, I had to see the world in a very different angle, and I realized, like, wow, somehow I'm becoming a statistics. The usual story. You graduate, you have a degree, and no jobs, and life continues. I was almost, accepting that was the fate. Then one day, while I was just hustling, I of course I used to keep, still in touch with my science, time go read papers online, check if there are any job postings that are relevant to me and all that. And this day, I just saw a job advert that was 110% fit for me. They wanted a biotechnologist with molecular biology background as a research assistant. I was like, okay.
Experience?
If they didn't, it was an entry level job.
So it was just perfect for you. You just knew this is now
for me, that was just it. I am like, okay, I've been applying for jobs throughout my life, or rather since I cleared campus. But most of them you're usually gambling. It's like you even apply for things that you even know you're not qualified for, but you still have faith. Probably they'll pick you for some reasons.
and that's so real. That's so real.
Yeah. I mean, that's
applying
true,
for things
honestly.
that you're not qualified for, hoping that something will happen. That's real.
Those moments when you even know they want a 15-year experience and you have 0, and you're like, probably they'll not get the 15 years. They'll just get the zeros, and I'll be there. If they pick.
Sisindo tuko.
Yeah, exactly. So I had to show up, no matter what. So I Googled the institution. That was my very first time hearing about that institution. That is Kenya Marine and Fisheries Research Institute. I didn't know about it before that.
But you're from that side, those sides.
Exactly. That was the most weird thing.
Is that Camfrey?
Camfrey, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So until then, I didn't know about Camfrey. So I Googled it up, checking like, okay, they don't do anything to do with molecular biology, biotech or anything. Okay, this is strange, but since it's a posting and I know I need a job, let me just do it. I sent my application. And I'm like, wow, we normally have that idea like, well, if you're applying for a government job, probably you're just doing a formality. That's usually the thought, and that was the thought actually, to be honest. Yeah. So I still did it. I applied for the job and forgot about it. Kept on hustling as usual. And 1 year after, exactly 12 months, I get an email. Like, hello, so-and-so, this is so-and-so from Camfrey, and we'd like to invite you for an interview. And I'm like, what do you mean?
What?
I'd even forgotten about it. I had to go back and check my history. When did I send this?
How did I apply?
I did send this. Yeah.
What CV did I send?
I need to check what did I write, how did I polish my CV and all that. So I went back home. I was confused, Those moments you're just totally confused. And I prepared for the interview and went to Mombasa. Did my interview.
This is from Nairobi?
My very best. Yeah, from Nairobi. Did my interview and came back home. Forgot about it again, because you're like, probably I was just there to, I'm just a statistics. At least they did the due process, that's usually the attitude. And I kept doing what I was doing,
Yeah.
And then, interestingly, after 4 months, I get an email like, congratulations, you got the position. I was actually on the road. I changed the whole dynamics, and I usually called it the transport industry. So I called myself a transport entrepreneur at that moment, just to feel good about it.
But you were a transport entrepreneur.
Yeah, like those moments when you just want to feel good. It's not the whole thing. Every day you get to do such things, and you've gone to school, you have a degree, you have an MSc certificate and all that, but there's nothing to show for it. It's something that you always want to say it, in a silent way. Yeah. So I stopped doing whatever I was doing, and I went back home. I celebrated with my wife, and wow, that was the beginning of a new journey. So I reported to work, met these people who are really, really kind and welcoming, and it's one of those places where you really feel welcomed. You meet strangers, but you feel at home.
Wait, this is after how long of completing your MSc?
That was 2 years.
Wow. The whole time you were doing boda.
The time you were boda hustling. Actually, let's just say 1.5 until I got the letter, the appointment letter. So before, of course, I had a report, I'll still be doing whatever I was doing. And honestly, things were looking up. I had really established my client base. I was even thinking about expanding. So either way, I was still, pushing myself to all kinds of limits.
So it's not like you were really struggling. It's just that the kind of job that you're doing was not what you had.
Actually, exactly. So the most weird thing is, for whatever offer I was being given, I would make way more than that in the border industry. But you see, the problem is you always want security. You want to be stable. You want to know that tomorrow, if something happens, you still have somewhere to go back. And
wait, so before that,
yes,
before that you were getting offers. Before that letter, that appointment letter, you were still applying, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, I did apply. I didn't get a single offer from anybody. None.
Okay.
The usual. You send, no response. You keep sending. Sometimes you'll be like, okay, I'm not sending anymore. You can just quit for 2 weeks or a week, and then you go back to doing it again. You know, still chasing the dream. Yeah. So I packed and went to Mombasa. I was working there, and I think that's the most life-changing moment in my life, because for once I was able to do something that I've been training for. You know, you spend 6-7 years for that particular job, you know,
and you actually wanted it.
Exactly. You know, I think I say most of the time I'm really lucky, you know, to say the least. Most people do things not because they want, but because they need to be paid at the end of the day. But in this case, I was in a place where I am able to do exactly what I've been doing for and what I love doing.
Because something I've come to realize that most people don't really like what they do. They're not even passionate about it. But like, I don't know. That's, I think, one question that I ask most people, even strangers. Are you happy with what you do? What would you rather be doing? You know, such questions. And it's interesting just to see how people do what they have to do just because they have to do it. They have to pay their rent, they have to take care of their family. If they have family, they have to take care of their bills and such like things. It's just interesting, and I usually feel sad. I don't know. I'm a very high sensitive person, and it takes a toll on me just knowing that there's someone out there who's doing something they actually don't like, but they have to do it because they have to do it. What is even sadder is when you ask someone what would you rather be doing, and they actually really don't know. Anyway, yeah, it's nice to know that you finally got this job that you wanted. You really wanted. So they had a molecular lab that you think they did?
Yes, it was still a young molecular biology lab. They didn't have really much. So actually the reason why that position was created is because they need to get things done.
So you're the first.
Yeah, I had a colleague also who had done some application of molecular biology in terms of population genetics and all that. But now you see they needed someone who is deeply rooted in the molecular biology aspect.
Okay.
So I got there really excited, full of energy, and million possibilities. And then to make it even interesting, I'm working in a field that I've never been into. I don't know anything about marine. I don't know anything about aquatics, It was just a whole new field for me, and it was really exciting and overwhelming at the same time.
What were you doing before?
Possibilities. No, before that, I was really into terrestrial microbiology mostly.
What did you do your project on?
My project was like trying to get biopolymers from terrestrial bacteria. So I wanted to. It was rooted on the plastic bands. So the idea was to try and generate bioplastics from microbes.
Interesting.
Yes.
What about your undergraduate?
Concept. My undergraduate, we were trying to develop. We wanted to make fuel from like a biofuel. That's the whole concept. And wanted to make some sort of gel. Yes, from gels from eggshells and ethanol.
Yeah.
To make some. Yes.
What are you getting from the eggshell?
It was calcium carbonate. That's what we were targeting to see whether we can use it as a binding agent to. It didn't really go the way we expected, but along the way we learned so many things, and it really redirected us to other greater things along that direction.
So this is you moving from this field to a whole new thing.
Exactly. So now here I am.
Learning everything, like from scratch again.
Everything from scratch. So the learning curve is steep, as you can imagine. But the beauty is the application, the tools, they're just the same. So long as you know what DNA is, what RNA is, and what proteins are, then it doesn't matter which organism they come from.
That's the interesting bit about molecular biology. Like you don't really have to, like it's something that can be applied in any kind of any organism, whatever. Yes. It's the same. It's the same PCR, same everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the most interesting bit is like, for me, I was like, wow, 70% of the world is covered by water. That means by default we have more organisms in the aquatic setting or aquatic environment than we have on land. So that's extremely huge.
Yeah.
So I got there, had so many ideas in my head, and lucky enough, after 6 months, I got a proposal and sent to one of the donors, and I got a funding for that project. So see, like things are really picking up really fast pace.
Wait, what made you?
Yeah.
What made you write a proposal? Like, was it part of your job, or it's just sort of why did you write?
Okay, so for government setting, there are two methods of operation. There are the government funded projects, and we have donor funded projects. So in most cases, the government funding is usually, in my perspective, will be for the conservation aspect. It's usually on things that are impacting the community directly, but people really forget so much about fundamental sciences. Nobody wants to fund things to do with DNA, like how will DNA help the community? That's really the first question. And we forget like that is the fundamental blueprint of life. So most of the time we had to get funding to be able to do some of these kinds of research work, but whatever the government was funding could not really be redirected towards that curiosity science or exploratory science. So for us, we have to look for funds to do such things. So I was fortunate to be among guys who were awarded that year, and started working on. So my project was actually on using environmental DNA to map fish diversity, and up until last year, doing my final data analysis, so probably get a paper out soon, and that immediately shaped my line of thinking and what I want to do in the future. So last year again, last year but one actually. So I've never really looked for PhD positions, but one day I get this alert in my email from a colleague, like, check this out, and if you're interested, apply. This is exactly what I need. That very moment, I'm like, okay, this is what I need. I've seen so many other opportunities, but this one fits my profile. So I sent an email to the prospective supervisor. We had a chat. The supervisor was interested, so I secured a position in the university, and this is Tokyo University of Marine Science and Technology in Japan. Thereafter, I was supposed to seek for funding. I applied for the funds through the government of Japan, the program they call the Next Scholarship. And by last year, June, they had responded, and I was one of the guys who were picked for that fund. And this is where I am today. So I'm a student at the Tokyo University of Marine Science and Technology, pursuing a PhD in aquatic biosciences. And my interest is in, or rather my line right now is in aquatic genomics. I'm interested in looking at microbial ecology. I want to see, the functional role of microbes in a community. So I know so much has been done on individual organisms, but the cultured, independent methods that are becoming more popular by day, that's what I want to go into. And I'm looking forward to what the future brings. So in a nutshell, that's my story. That's me.
Do you want to start your own podcast? Start with some simple gear that you already have and a quiet space. Simple gear includes a microphone, editing software, and host of your podcast. Simple microphones include the ones on your phones and computers, or a simple recorder, which you can upgrade later. For the editing software, I use Audacity, which is free and simple to use. Buzzsprout, which over 1,000 other fellow podcasters like me use, is one of the podcast hosting providers you can use. Buzzsprout has helped me link my show on every major podcast platform. With the endless number and regularly updated tutorials and good customer service support Buzzsprout offers, my podcasting journey has been made easy. Following the link in the show notes, let Buzzsprout know we sent you, gets you a $20 Amazon gift card if you sign up for a paid plan, and helps support our show.